Hey guys, it's Hunter. Welcome back to another video, and a couple of boxes just arrived from one of my favorite guitar companies to cover because the guitars are always super fun and there's some of the best value for the super high quality standards on the market right now. And of course, anytime I get anything new in, I love getting the first look together with you guys. So smack a like on the video if you're going to enjoy it. That actually massively helps appease the algorithm's ever insatiable hunger and really helps out the channel more than you might realize. Let's head into the garage, see what we've got. All right, here they are. Let's go. First box. Let's ignore all the other stuff and just focus on these for now. All right, which one first? Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. Dude, look at that fucking flame, man. Here it is from the back, and come on, man, look at that neck. Sorry to all the Asian moms out there. For the B-roll, it just has to be done. All right, so what the hell is this anyways? So this is a Vola JZ FRO, and if you've watched the channel for a while, you're probably familiar with Vola guitars and why they're such a fun brand to cover on the channel. Made in Japan with all the ridiculously high levels of quality and consistency associated with meticulous Japanese craftsmanship. And while everyone else seems to be raising prices every few months, Vola started selling exclusively direct and actually managed to drop their prices last year by a lot. It's outrageous. And the other thing I love about Vola is that they aren't one of those brands that does traditionally faithful reiterations of the three classic shapes we've known for decades. You know which ones I'm talking about. Their guitars are instead traditionally inspired with a healthy infusion of their own signature modernized flair. We've covered guitars like their Vasti, the 7-string Oz, and this JZ is the latest edition, their contemporary take on the classic offset. It looks absolutely sick in Olympic white with the tortoiseshell plastics. Again, clearly modernized vintage vibes, and keep that in mind as we go over the specs. They've started with the time-honored combo of an alder body with a bolt-on maple neck, and then just gone crazy with it. They've roasted the maple, given it a reverse headstock, and there's some ridiculously well-defined flame figuring. I mean, the front is one thing, but look at that from the back. That's just very, very nice. Then they've added glow-in-the-dark lumen lace side dots and glow-in-the-dark fingerboard inlays. Then one of my favorite specs, especially on modernized classics like this. And if you watch the channel a lot, I apologize in advance because I mentioned how nice stainless steel frets are ad nauseum. The material is much harder and resilient than traditional nickel silver, and if they're smooth, shiny, and well polished like they are here, straight up, you'll never wear them down to where you need a refret. It feels like playing on glass, and it'll stay that way forever. Then self-lubricating tusk nut from the Nutmaster's Graphtec, Goto 2-point tremolo, and Goto vintage style locking tuners. These are just so sick. Vintage style enclosures with the big modern thumb screws. They really only emphasize the overall super modernized vintage aspect, and Goto Japan is awesome. They only make S-tier quality hardware. All this made in Japan for a couple $100 less than some of the recent Epiphones. That's insane. But yeah, so dope. Alright, let's see what's in the other box. And next box. Last one was cool. This has a lot to live up to. Let's go ahead, open it up. That's so good. So here's the other color it comes in, because what properly vintage-inspired line is complete without a classic sunburst? And I know I've been talking up the modernized vintage aspect, but look at these pickups. Again, let's just remove the plastics because that is too satisfying. But a P90 single P90 combo, who else even does that? It's like your classic triple single, except way more aggressive, while still looking the part with those vintage chrome outer rings? What do you even call these? Help me out in the comments. Don't know, who cares, we move, but they look dope as well. And the controls are secretly real cool too. The volume pot is push-pull. When you pull it up, it turns the middle pickup off, and the button in between the two controls is a direct output switch, which is exactly what it sounds like. Everything else is removed from the circuit, and you're just going directly from the pickup to the output jack, for the clearest sound, nothing else coloring the tone. But man, look at this guitar. The figuring on the neck is just ridiculous. Again. And from the back too, honestly, which one is better? Usually, I'm all about those vintage whites, but I am digging the sunburst with tortoiseshell in person. And I mean a lot. This is a toss-up. Two different vintage-inspired flavors. Genuinely can't decide. Which one do you prefer? Let me know in the comments. And by the way, if you're into these or you want to check out more details on anything else in Vola's extensive lineup of Japanese-made guitars starting under $1,000, they've been awesome enough to hook us up with an exclusive discount. If you use volaguitars.com/Aggifish, link in the description, or use my code Aggifish at checkout, you'll get an even better deal on your new Vola. Now, while they both look great, the specs and Japanese quality are awesome for the price, that doesn't always tell the full story. And one of my favorite ways to really test guitars in the real world is to write something with them. See what kind of riffs they inspire. So thank you to Vola for sending these guitars over for us to check out together. Let's plug them in, get some tones, get some first impressions, and write a track. So I'll start writing a couple riffs with this, see how it goes, and then we'll switch to the other one, see how it compares. So I'm running this through the Angle Savage 120 Mark II. It's one of my favorite amps. Such a good amplifier. It's super chunky, super tight, which is then going into a Kick-Ass Audio custom IR that Luke and I are really proud of. Wow, that's twangy as fuck. P90s and high gain, man. In a bolt-on like this, what a combo. Always amazed at how good these feel. Japanese-made guitars are just something else. That obsession with perfection. I'm already a huge fan of Vola guitars. They never disappoint. Dude, it's just so easy to play. You can sense the person that made this takes a lot of pride in their work. And since I've played a couple of Volas, I own a Vola. This is a very familiar, mind-blowing experience. The neck on this, the shape, the specs, it's identical to the one on my Modern Oz. So that's really cool, because it's a new shape with this crazy pickup combo. But if you played a Vola before and you've had a good time, you're gonna like this. It just looks way fucking nicer with that roasted flame maple though. You think they'd notice if I just like swapped them, sent it back, and it's got no figuring? I don't know, man. I don't know. FedEx must have done something in shipping. Oh, and this direct output switch. This is one of my favorite features about Vola guitars. Basically what it does, bypasses everything else on the circuit. It's just pickup to output jack to amp for the purest tone. When I first heard about it, I was like, well, I mean, I'm always on the bridge pickup, volume and tone both dimed anyways, and always in drop tuning, just a pure, uncultured heathen. But like direct to output, how much of a difference can that really make? It's just a little bit crisper, a little bit brighter, a little bit tighter, all of which is awesome for tracking high gain. Oh, okay, I like the vibe. There's just something about this that encourages bendy bounciness, especially with the stainless steel frets. It's so satisfying. God damn, it's so fucking twangy. It's funny, usually this channel's really just an outlet for sharing my obsession with Les Pauls and carved top single cuts. Some have described it as Gibson's Lawyer's hit list. But lately, dude, I've been in a bolt-on phase, and I still fucking adore my set neck boat anchors. It's more like I've really begun to appreciate the snappy, tactile feedback you get from a bolt-on. You know, this sunburst has actually grown on me. Alright, my super nitpicky guitar designer eye has spotted something. Really, Vola, you made such an amazing feeling, high-quality guitar, and you couldn't match the plastic covers? Guitar feels great, it's a lot of fun, plastics don't match, 1 star. This is some straight caveman chug shit. Love it, we're using that. Dude, P90s and high gain, there's like a raw, aggressive quackiness to the, in a good way, in a fantastic way. Chugs are so satisfying. Straight fucking ooga boogas, let's go. I think this is one of those tracks that's gonna require a shitload of cowbell too. It's gonna be great. Okay, so now that we've explored the epic tonal diversity of this guitar, let's switch to the other guitar, see how that one is. We'll start writing a clean section and actually explore some of the non-ooga booga sounds that this wild pickup configuration allows for. Super fucking pleasant. So that's just the neck pickup. Let's see if we can get it even more chimey by adding the single coil. Oh, that's really cool. That adds a very different dimension to the cleans. And I really like how you could use this as a dual P90 guitar most of the time with the three-way. And the middle pickup is just something you can add in if there's a clean emergency and you need that little bit of extra single coiliness, which is exactly the situation we find ourselves in now. And we also find ourselves in an emergency situation where it seems that 83 billion and 3% of viewers aren't subscribed. So here's your quick reminder to do that if you're enjoying the video. Really helps the channel out. We're trying to hit 250,000 subscribers, just a crazy number. Thank you guys so much. And hit the bell for notifications so you'll be the first to know about new videos. Oh man, I'm digging this color a lot. I'll admit, the sunburst was growing on me. This Olympic white though, with the tortoiseshell, it's so good. Setup's just a little bit nicer on this one too, but just like the sunburst one and what I've come to expect from Vola. The actual build quality, the fretwork, immaculate. I am a little surprised they didn't try to roll the edges more though. That's a thing that's becoming a lot more common, especially on the higher tier premium brands, which Vola very much is. They've rounded them off a little bit for comfort, especially with those really nicely round fret ends. And Lumenlay inlays to go with the side dots, that's really cool. So I'm thinking for the clean section, 2 guitar layers, and I'm thinking that first riff, but an octave up, might be pretty cool with the clean tone. Okay, so that's a rhythm part, and then we need a higher guitar part. No. Yeah. That's kind of cool, actually. And just realized we don't have any leads anywhere, so we can throw that in. And as is customary on the channel, we've saved the most fun for last. Full Ooga Booga breakdown time. Lately for breakdowns, I've just been absolutely abusing the Digitech whammy. So I'm going to try to not do that this time.
A few moments later.
Well, I didn't say I was going to completely not use it. It's way too much fun to ignore it completely. Okay, maybe just a little bit of Digitech whammy abuse. I'm an addict, I can't just quit cold turkey. But before this gets out of hand, I think that's enough ideas. I'm gonna go ahead and work on this demo track off camera, and I'll meet you back here for my final thoughts on the Vola JZ. But first, and at this point, I legitimately have no idea how it ended up sounding. But here's how the demo track consisting of the first riffs inspired by this guitar turned out. Cool, so memory card got corrupted. I'm having to re-record this. So if you're wondering about the continuity error, I have no idea what you're talking about. We move. Okay, so surprising absolutely no one that's watched any of my Vola demos or knew of Vola guitars before, but these JZs, they're good. And really good value compared to other guitars at this premium quality level. Because, of course they are. That's Vola's thing. Meticulous Japanese craftsmanship for reasonable prices. And I'm partial to this color, but the JZ shows Vola at their best. Like, god damn, look at these freaking necks, man. I can't get over this figuring. This one might be my favorite Vola model. Well, it's between these and the Quentin Godet signature, but I love them both for the same reason. Both models have that clear, vintage-inspired class, but at the same time, Vola have tastefully modernized these timeless ideas in ways where no one else has models quite like them. Super modern specs like roasted maple necks, aluminlays, stainless steel frets. I'm a vocal advocate for all of those specs, big fan of that spec list, and no one else is making a modernized, old school HSS 7-string quite like this. No one else is making a modernized old school offset quite like this. In fact, even after some dedicated Googling, I can't even find any other production models with this pickup configuration. But it's really clever. Aesthetically, it fits perfectly with the modernized classic styling. It's reminiscent of those guitars from the 50s, but modernized. It's a triple single coil setup that's unique, not the same thing everyone else has been copying directly for decades. And P90 style pickups are awesome. In my opinion, super underrated for high gain. Yes, they can get very noisy without hum canceling, so ready thy ISP decimator, but because they're hot single coils, they've got this mid-range throatiness that's awesome in a mix, and there's this raw, aggressive beef to them you don't get with other single coil designs. They weren't necessarily aiming to replicate those vintage offset single coil tones, but when you roll back the volume, and especially if you engage the middle pickup, you can get some suitably jangly sounds. P90 Strats are one of the most popular parts caster builds, and Vola is basically giving us a cooler, more versatile version with the switchable middle pickup. Now, personally, I've never been a massive Strat or Super Strat guy, which is super unfortunate on a personal level when it comes to Vola's lineup because double cuts are their main bread and butter. Like, if you're into those shapes, they have you spoiled for choice. And I'll make exceptions for the exceptional, like I did with my Oz RV, but years after a traumatic experience, my therapist says I'm making progress, and recently I've been getting really into offsets. The looks, the balance, the general coolness. So, I'll just go ahead and say it. The JZ is Vola's coolest shape. It's sick that the outline has the same signature angular character as the Oz and the Vosti do, so they all feel part of a complete family, but that design approach and the reverse headstock just work particularly well with this shape. So I'm just really excited to see what else they do with this shape, man. Vola has so many cool guitars. Love the looks, love the quality, love the necks. A big reason why more of them aren't in my personal collection or on my wish list is literally that the vast majority of them are double cuts. And I totally understand that my general indifference to that style of shape is both very shallow and a very specific personal problem. All I'm saying is that makes me even more stoked than I otherwise would be to see where Vola takes this modernized classic of a shape next. But that's enough from me. Here's where I'll throw it to you. What do you think of the Vola JZ? You agree with me that it's a great contemporary take on a classic theme, their best shape ever? Think I'm completely wrong and it's kind of derpy or not metal enough? And just what do you think of Vola guitars in general? Any and all thoughts? Drop them down below. Huge shout out to my amazing patrons. Their names are up on the screen right now. Consider joining them if you like what I do and want to get bonus extras. You can also join as a channel member or pick up some merch. All that really helps out the channel. And by the way, if you're into these or you want to check out more details on anything else in Vola's extensive lineup of Japanese-made guitars starting under $1,000, Discord and links to more information about Vola guitars are in the description. Don't forget to use my code for an even better deal. As always, thanks so much for watching. You've been awesome, and I will see you for the next video.